Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's been a minute. Seems like forever. It's been a long couple of weeks. Got in a couple shots intermittently, but thanks for coming back, checking out the channel. Gonna do a different walkabout, different place. Never been here before, or at least you guys haven't. I never got to record. Been by here a couple times, but yeah, just thanks for coming by. I'll give you guys something to look at while I run my mouth and stretch my legs a little bit. So tired of sitting all day lately. So hope everybody's doing good. Seen lots of good videos out there on the YouTube. But the question of the day, the discussion, is this our John Galt moment, or should it be? Obviously, lots going on in the financial world. What I describe as an economic collapse. Many would not, I guess. But real quick, before I guess to go any further, there's a spoiler alert. If you haven't read Atlas Shrugged, and you want to really be totally surprised, I guess go ahead and turn off the video. But will be a couple of spoilers in here about the book and how I think it relates and what we discuss in here. So if you don't want to have the book ruined for you, I guess don't watch the video. But I don't think it'll be that bad. But anyway, John Galt. Who is John Galt, right? Going Galt. That's been around for a long time with a lot of people. Some would even say a lot of the higher echelon elite have already gone Galt, because they have number of CEOs that have dropped off of companies and people have left boards of their companies in the last 6 months is unusually high. Bill Gates being a prime example, but many others are prime examples. But I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about us. Anybody that's read the book knows the kind of the story, but kind of to backtrack for those that aren't familiar. Going Galt, and John Galt kind of refers to a guy who had an idea and didn't want to be enslaved by the system, taking profits on his idea and everybody else riding his coattails basically, and him not getting any benefit off of his own work and his own labor. You know, taxes and all the other things that come with being a productive individual in society. He got tired of it and dropped out, left, started working his own means, doing his own thing. He's kind of the antagonist, though, in the story, as the protagonist. Dagny Taggart runs a railroad, and that's kind of the main characters, and everybody kind of focuses on them. I'm kind of windy here. Hopefully this comes out all right. You'll never see it if it doesn't. You know how many videos I've done that have ended up on the floor or on the cutting room floor because of wind. But that's the main characters, and everybody focuses on, you know, John Galt and Taggart and running the railroad and everything. And that's all part of it, you know, but we're all not in that situation. Most of us aren't running multi-million-dollar operations and getting taken advantage of by the man, people that can't be productive in that respect, except for there's probably I think there's a few of you out there on the YouTube I think have that capability. Like I think Dad on YouTube is a sandbagger, Liberty Garden, and I think John over at the Prepared Mind. I think they're all three like capable of doing something that drastic. But anyway, shout out to those guys, always putting out good stuff. What I took away from the book, and what I really mean by when is our John Galt moment, is there's a moment in the book where things are really starting to break down on the railroad. Things are really bad because they're not being ran well, because it's all a bunch of strap hangers that are running the company now, because government intervention, taxes, and everything else has made it to where you can't run the railroad effectively or profitably, because profits go back into it and make it safer and better, make it run better, and hire better people to make the whole show run better, right? But that's not happening because of all that interference. So there's one key moment in the story where the old train, it's all beat up, it's not worth running, it shouldn't be running, is going to do one of the more challenging routes up a hill, up into the mountains, and everybody's like it's a death train. And there's a couple different points along the chain where people that shouldn't have been hired for the position they're in are asleep at the wheel. People that were well off and well-to-do, or not well-to-do, well, that was the wrong word. People that were in the right position, who should have been prayed appropriately to stay in the position, left. And then there's one train. He's not a conductor. He's one of the guys that works towards the rear or whatever. And there's a key moment where he's like, the train's pulling out of the station. He sees what's coming. And he just steps off the train into the dark, disappears. He didn't need anybody to warn him that train was destined for doom, and it is, and it ends up crashing and burning. Worst railroad crash in history or whatever. As the story goes on. And when I read that book, that's what I really took away as our position. We're not a bunch of, John Galts with big ideas who can go off into the mountains, and be productive and produce this big community and be all great. When it comes down time to it, we're all going to be like that guy on the train, that train worker, who at some point in time, we're going to have to step out of line, step off the job, if you will. When things get bad enough, that's what most of our positions are going to be like. We're going to have to recognize the signs and know it's time to go, because it's not worth it and nobody else cares about you but you. Unfortunately, that's the position most of us are in, I think, are going to be in. And the question is, are we there? You've got this economic situation such as it is. You want to get out while the getting's good, right? You don't want to suffer needlessly, which is kind of the story that goes behind, in that same story, Dagny Taggart, running the railroad against all odds, letting the man and those that aren't productive suck off of her efforts, and just so she can run her family's railroad. But do you continue to do that regardless of what's being done to you, and even the hazards that you may have to endure, such as bad management, bad co-workers, bad everything that makes the situation worse? And not only work side of it, but on the economic side. And this, I think I did a video on this way back when, after I had talked about getting out of all your market shares, all your IRAs, all your investment accounts, anything connected to the market. This is like 8 years ago. The same thing applies. Pulling your stuff out of there because they're just using your efforts to further themselves, and you get very little benefit out of it. All your IRA accounts, 401ks, that's just productivity that goes to those that do less, being mostly the central bankers, investment bankers, financial managers, just using your efforts for their benefit, because they benefit much greater when they can play the markets like they do with your money. And also, I'd like, think about getting out of those environments while the getting is good. It may seem like a very bad time, because yes, the market is low and it just basically crashed and your 401k is in shambles. But how much longer you want to go on till they build up your hopes again? I say, hey, it ain't that bad. We're getting $5 trillion in stimulus money. It's bound to get better, right? Well, maybe not. It might not, right? So not only with your personal life and what you do, but your financial, economic. When is your Galt moment going to be that you need to get out and you're tired of people riding your coattails and using your money for their benefit and all your efforts, and you get very, very little to show for it? That stuff to work and something that you can be more useful for yourself, whether it's land and property, small farm, animals, whatever. It's something that's more useful and it's yours. The snow's a little deep right here. This looks like a little cat track. Anyway, and rabbit. So I just want to think about that with the way the things are going and throw that out there to everybody to really think about, are you going to continue to be productive for everybody else? And we all have to have varying degrees of this. I don't think any of us will be able to go to the mountains of Colorado and just create a community out necessarily, but it has to be in degrees, I think, and it's something you have to really figure out, because the time is going to come. You don't want it to surprise you. You want to be ready for it. You want to be prepared for it and have your trigger, I guess, where that's it. I've had enough. Especially in the markets, folks. Stock market 401ks. If you haven't reached your breaking point yet, I don't know, really evaluate where that is. Yeah, that wind's coming in from that. I have to walk probably backwards to keep you guys out of the mic, hopefully. Keep that wind out of the mic. So, something to think about, chew on, read the book, Atlas Shrugged, if you hadn't. Probably take you a couple months like it did me. But it definitely gets you thinking. I'd say, I read it back in what? 2000? Grouse? Back in 2000 is when I read it. 2001. And that's really where I started the journey of thinking about the economic side of everything, which started to bleed over into the political. When we talk about the political corruption that they discuss and the non-productive sucking off of the productive people. So this has been a walk out here, talk. This is Wild Horse Reservoir, way up north where the air is cold in Nevada. We're about 6,000 feet. That's thus why the snow lingers a lot longer up here than we've been. Pretty cool place to go check out. Lots of elk come up in this area later on in the season. Lots of hunting, elk hunting up here and stuff like that. All the antelope and everything else. But hope you enjoyed the walk. Thanks for checking in, everybody. Enjoy the comments. Let's see what everybody's got to say. See if anybody's got a different take on going Galt and what that means. Prep hard, folks. Live free.